Hello again, YouTube. My name is Bree, and in today's video, I am doing an unboxing. So, as always, I want to start with a disclaimer that you do not need every paint or art supply you see online, and I just generally know that I am, or not so much anymore, but I used to be very easily influenced by what everybody else was using online. So, in an attempt to avoid having you fall to that same fate, if you really don't need every watercolor, you don't even need more than one set. I do like to collect and try new things, and I do apologize in advance if I am being a bad influence here. I'm just very excited to try these paints out and share them with you, but I don't want to make them out like you need to have them in your collection. You absolutely don't need new art supplies. It is what it is. So in today's video, I am trying Michael Harding watercolors. I've been intrigued by Michael Harding for a while. I don't know why. At some point, I was reading up on oil paints a long time ago, came across his name, and he's basically a pigment nerd, and that appeals to me. Now that I actually do have oils, as I'm taking an oil painting class, I did end up going with his series, mostly series 1, because his oil paints can be very expensive, so I went with the cheapest line. But in October of last year, he introduced his watercolor line, and it's quite a hefty line already. They came out with like over 100 colors right off the bat. But yeah, I definitely did not need to buy these, and I definitely, while I was intrigued, I wasn't rushing out to get them. However, I got a bit of an award at work recently. My team did, for all of the hard work we put in for the first 5 months of the year, getting a release out the door. And that basically translated to a gift card for Amazon for me and some cash. So I basically didn't pay for these, and that's why I got them. That price tag is not what I paid for this one. I did get them cheaper, but I did want to share that there's a lot of really good information on each tube of paints. I really like the layout of their labels, and I'm going to go through and swatch each one and speak to them. Now, if you don't want to watch swatching, I always like when unboxings come with swatching, but also do a painting so you can see all about them. I hate when you just see unboxings are just like, and these are paints I bought, moving on. So if you don't want to see all of this, I do have a painting with a timestamp below. It is a really quick sketch. Otherwise, welcome to the swatching portion of this video. I'm going to go through these one at a time. I do want to be clear, I'm not used to working with wet paint straight out of the tube. I normally put them in pans and then work with them once they've dried down. So this isn't my preferred way of working. However, my porcelain palette that I bought for this did not arrive on time. So going through the colors one at a time, the first one is Yellow Lake. This is pigment PY 180. It has excellent light fastness, it's high staining power, no granulation, and it is semi-transparent. So some of these are colors that I also bought in his watercolor line, and I do look forward to seeing how they compare once I do have my normal swatch cards made. I haven't made them yet. So yeah, some of them I just bought to be the same for that very reason, and then some I went completely different just for fun. So the next one is Yellow Lake Deep, and that is PY 139. It has a very good light fastness, high staining power, no granulation, and it's semi-opaque. I've been really bad lately when I buy paints about getting a proper warm yellow. I tend to go with an earth yellow instead. And in this case, I wanted it, but then later reading his site, he said if you try one of my paints, I recommend you try quinacridone gold. So I ended up with 3 yellows, which is a little unusual for me, but we'll get back to quin gold later. The first of 3 reds, once again, went a little crazy with the reds, is Scarlet Lake. This is one I do have in the oil painting as well. It is PR 170. It has excellent light fastness, medium staining power, it has granulation, and it is semi-transparent. So I do have a couple granulating reds, which I'm intrigued by. We'll see how it works for me as I paint, because I think it's going to show up more as I do mixes. Because my palette tends to lean a lot warmer than I'm used to, I wanted to incorporate that into the test painting as well. So you'll see that when we get there, I definitely went with a warmer palette than I'm used to, and it was quite fun. So just to talk about the paints, how they felt coming out of the tube, I only had one that had binder separation, and cerulean, which you just saw, did kind of explode a little bit, but nothing uncontrollable. It wasn't like some of like my Daniel Smith tubes have a tendency to like really explode when you open them the first time. So pretty happy with how they came out of the tube. These aren't vegan paints. They do use honey. So while they did seem to dry down these dots before I started painting with them, they re-wet really beautifully. So far I'm very happy with these, but I really can't say. First impressions are good, but we'll see how I feel about them long term, because that's what really matters. In terms of swatching, I am putting down water first, just to help the paint flow better. It's just how I find works for me, getting good gradients. But yeah, I'm kind of out of the habit with this brush, and I forgot it didn't hold quite as much water as I remembered. So there was a bit of a relearning curve here. So cerulean blue is not a color I have in oils, because his cerulean blue, the 40 milliliters, is like $73. For some reason, the watercolor was cheaper, so I had to get it because I was just insanely curious. It's PB36 for the pigment. It has excellent light fastness, low staining power. It's granulating and opaque. The next one is Herculean Red. I always have to have a PR 101 or PR 102 or one of each or two of one on my palette, because they are like just such good and diverse brown pigments. So this was such a warm brown, I had to go for it. It, like I said, PR 101, maybe I didn't say, I went with two PR 101s. So this is a PR 101. Excellent light fastness, medium staining power. It does have fine granulation, and it's an opaque pigment. And then the last one, before I loop back to the top, is like, I always like to have one paint that's really just maybe not the most useful overall, but it's intriguing, so I had to get it. So in this case, this color is called Purple Haze. It is a pigment mix. I generally try to go for single pigments, but this one's PG18, PB29, and PO73. So instead of a neutral tint or Payne's Gray, I decided to go a little crazy. This one granulates beautifully into a bunch of different colors, and it very much intrigued me. So it has excellent light fastness. Its staining power is low. Like I said, it's granulating, and it is transparent. The initial wash I put down was not strong enough. It does have really a dark mass tone, and I did see that when I was painting in my actual painting. So I do go over it again later. I think the video cut out before I got there. My camera overheated or something. So you'll see it though when I actually peel the tape off this page. Little water break between rows. So the next row, we'll start with quinacridone gold. Now, this is the first quinacridone gold I have that doesn't have PO48. So, little backstory, quinacridone gold used to be pigment PO49. That pigment was used by the automotive industry, and when they stopped using it, it wasn't really made for paint makers anymore, and it's been out of stock for a very long time. After that, they switched to usually like something like PY150 and PO48. So to keep a very similar color, now PO48 is running out. So if you really want a quinacridone gold with those not original but the second generation pigments, might not have much time left, unfortunately. So this one is actually PY150 and PR209. I did get it, like I said, because he highly recommended it. If you tried any one of his paints, it's this one. And I'm actually pretty impressed with how quinacridone gold it feels. Now, I haven't compared it against my other quinacridone golds on the same paper yet. I do want to do those swatch cards and then compare all the quinacridone golds together and see precisely how they compare, but I'm so far pretty impressed with this color, so we'll see. The next one is another quinacridone. I've never tried quinacridone coral, so this is PR209. It's the same pigment that's replacing the PO48 on the quinacridone gold. And part of the reason I got it was because I've never used it before. The other one is because I don't know, I love quinacridones and I want to try it. But also all the other reds I've got are granulating. So I bought this just to kind of have a non-granulating red. So did I read this data on quinacridone gold? I don't remember. If I didn't, it has very good light fastness, staining power low, granulation yes, and transparency is transparent. So for the quinacridone coral, we have light fastness very good, staining power is low medium, no granulation, and it is a transparent pigment. I apologize if I read the quinacridone gold one twice. It's been a long week. I'm tired. So the final red is alizarin claret. I don't know. I feel like it should have been claret, and then I looked it up, and the dictionary told me it's an American word, so, or an English word. That was embarrassing. An English word. So it's a new word to me. I do actually have this one in oils, so I wanted to do that comparison. It is PR 177, not the traditional alizarin crimson. That's PR 83. That is known for being extremely fugitive. This one still has low light fastness, though, so it's not fugitive, but it doesn't have the staying power. I don't know why all of my favorite reds are have such low light fastness. But yeah, low light fastness, medium high staying power, yes on granulation, and semi-transparent. Moving on, we have ultramarine blues up next. I don't remember if I said it already, but some of the reds, I wasn't sure if they were so light on the page, along with the black, the purple haze. I do go over some of the reds just to bring that color out more, and I do think that was just on me, the way I was being a little cautious in lifting pigment, but we'll see. The more I work with them, I know some warm reds fade down a lot anyway, so that may be true. I think the alizarin claret is a little punchier than I gave it credit for on its swatch. So a very classic ultramarine blue, we have PB29. It has excellent light fastness, low medium staining power, yes to granulation, and it is transparent. Another one I use in his oil brand as well. Can't go wrong with a good ultramarine. The next color, I normally don't put greens on my palette, but since at some point I'm like, I do seem to have enough money for 12, and I'm getting a little ceramic palette for 12, so I might as well get 12 colors. I went with Viridian. It did have a lot of pigment binder separation, so it's a little weird on the palette, but I've squeezed some out twice since and did not see that happen again. So I think it just had a little binder on the top, probably from the way it was shipped or the heat. I don't know. So it seems fine otherwise. It is PG18. Excellent light fastness, non-staining, yes to granulation, and it's transparent. I think it's a really lovely green. It's not one I've used before. I really don't think I have a Viridian, so I look forward to playing with it. And the final one is the other PR 101. This is Indian Red. Excellent light fastness, staining power is medium, granulation is yes, and it is semi-opaque, and it is such a lovely silky color to put down on the page. I really love this version of PR 101. I tend to use it to make a lot of dark mixes with ultramarine as well, so it's just such a staple for me and never disappoints. So I do go over a couple of colors. Otherwise, like I said, at this point in the swatching process, it was really hard for me to get a read on how they were feeling just because I'm not used to working with wet paint straight from the tube. They are, for the most part, extremely vibrant and really pretty. The Viridian and the ultramarine are a little fainter, and that's partly the granulation. The reds as well, but they look gorgeous once I go over them again. So I'm very excited to try these all out. I'm not going to give anything but a first impression today, though. Like I said, they are a very expensive paint brand, and once again, as long as you have something that works for you, you don't need to try it all. I'm just a little bit of a paint nerd and collector, and I couldn't help it since I had to treat myself with my little gift from work because I deserved it. It's been a tough year so far. So I think the video actually cuts off as I'm going back over this one. Go figure. I don't even think I was filming for that long at this point, but it's been a bit warm lately. So who knows? Yeah, so like I said, first impression's pretty good. But there's nothing that jumps out to me that says this brand is so absurdly unique that you have to get them. There was something really magical to me about some of the other paint brands I tried. And of course, a lot of that's comparison. I've tried a lot of paint brands now. And at this point, there's nothing that's like, this is the best thing I've ever worked with. I am enjoying them so far, but haven't used them that much. But yeah, I'm really, I don't know what I'm going at. Oh, I go over all of the reds. I did not remember this. I know I had something else to talk about. Oh, so if you do happen to be interested in this brand, though, I do recommend checking out his website, Michael Harding's website, because he does something I don't see a lot of paint makers do. Like normally you go on like Blick or Jackson's or wherever you shop and you just look at the swatches there. But his website actually, most paint makers have their own websites with their own information too, but his has really good information about the paints. Like it's not for all of them yet. And I don't know if he plans to do them all, but there's like swatches on different types of paper. So like, I think like Arches and Fabriano, both hot press and cold press. So you can see how they respond on different papers. And I thought that was really nice. On some, he also gave a little background about the color, and then just the general information about it. So I thought it was a very informative website. And I do like how he laid out the information and did the swatches on different papers just to showcase how they look, because especially granulating pigments can show up very differently on different kinds of paper. So that might impact decision making as well. Yeah, so not much else to say there. I do apologize. The tubes are so shiny and I found them very distracting under the light. So when I wasn't swatching, like when I was unboxing, I did tone down the white levels to help with that. So moving into the painting itself, and man, I'm getting tired of talking to myself. I definitely wanted to really try out those warm colors. Since I bought such a warm focus palette, it wasn't something I did overly consciously. I used to prefer really cool colors, but lately I've been kind of feeling the warm colors. So I went for something that was pretty warm, and just to showcase those and test them all out. While they're not all featured because it is such a simple little sketch, I did use each paint at least once, just to kind of use it, re-wet it, try it out. Beyond this, the only thing I've done is paint little sketches in my 5-year Hobonichi, which I don't know if I've talked about on this channel at all. I've been keeping a 5-year Hobonichi journal, Hobonichi being the company, they do planners, but the 5-year is basically a little tiny section for each day, for 5 years. So when you open it up, you see today's date for 2023, 2024 through 2027. I just started this year and I'm doing a little sketch in it every day, something, a memory, about that day, so that as I can go back and look at it, I can see like, I finished this book today and I really liked it, or I saw this movie, or it's just something that stood out about this particular day. So the Hobonichi uses Tomoe River paper, and it works with watercolor, but it's not really it's not watercolor paper. So I just do quick little washes. I use them because they're still out on my desk, not because they're the best for it. All that to say, this is the only real painting I've done with it so far. And then those little doodles in my Hobonichi. So yeah, a little bit of a tangent there. I just don't have enough experience with it yet to speak too much about how I feel about it. I did really enjoy this painting, which I struggled a little bit because while I wanted to go warm, at times I kind of panicked about how warm it was because it's not my normal color scheme. But it was also a really quick sketch. It's been a very, very busy week for me. And I am also now cat sitting my mom's cat, and he does not get along with my Juno. So it's been a little chaotic here, and prepping for them coming by. And yeah, so haven't had much time. So this is a really quick sketch. I think it's like an hour and a half, just to test out the paints and play around with them a bit. Plus, I don't remember if I said this at the beginning. I personally like videos when people unbox something, but also show off what they got. I fine with swatches, but they don't really tell a story. Granted, a quick sketch doesn't necessarily tell a story either, but it does show how the colors interact a bit. And because so many of these colors do granulate, this little sketch ended up really textural, so that I kind of panicked about a couple times, but that's fine. I mean, a gallo I love because of the granulation, and I have a feeling I'll like this for that as well, but we'll see. So this is just a quick quinacridone coral wash, just because I wanted to really put a warm underpainting on the hair to kind of help differentiate it from the skin, since both are going to be a bit more orange tinted. I am loosely following a reference photo. It's probably not that loose actually, but I wasn't trying to get a likeness or anything, but I was using a picture of a redhead from Pexels, I believe. Just because I have no originality in my brain right now, and I just wanted to play. Yeah, it is. These colors, they really are quite vibrant, and yeah, just not used to working with them. That's okay. I'll get there. I forgot what else I was going to talk about. Oh, this painting, I did want to point out early on that the very last bit I didn't film, so I do go back and add a little bit more like dark value to the hair after the filming ends, and around the eye, do a little fixing around the eyes, and that's only because I got tired. I went to bed, and when I woke up the next morning, the sun was already up, so the film, and like with the clouds passing by, I was not going to be able to get consistent lighting for filming, so I just finished it up. It was maybe another like 10 minutes of work, so not too much loss, but it did make a difference in the long run. So I do apologize for not capturing it all, but I think it still shows off the paints a little bit here. So I will definitely be using these paints more in future videos when I really have time to sit down and play with them more, when I have them in a proper palette and can pull paint a little bit more easily than having them all sharing the same little dishes. So you'll see these more in the future, and I'll be able to speak to them more in the future. But mostly, I just want to keep reiterating that please don't buy something just because someone on the internet's using it, even if it's their favorite. Everyone has their own preferences, and watercolors or any paint media could be a very, very expensive hobby. So I got lucky and didn't really pay for these. I feel bad if I motivate people to pay for them if they don't need them. But yeah, I definitely have fun with these paints. I will definitely keep using these paints, and I will be able to speak to them more coherently in a future video. I am still really busy with the oil painting course. I didn't get enough time to spend on that exercise this week either. There are 4 more weeks remaining, so I will be busy for the next 4 weeks. Sometime after I'm done with the course, maybe I'll talk about like the overall a bit more and share some of the work I did if I could get the lighting to behave, and eventually hopefully actually do oil painting for you on this channel. So we'll see. Too many hobbies, not enough time. It's definitely an issue. But yeah, that's really all I got for this. I just really wanted to do something quick, and it's a little outside my normal comfort zone, but it works. I keep thinking I'm at that point. I'm not. I wanted to let some of the really granulating colors disperse naturally in water. So I did a really simple wash for the shirt, just using the purple haze to really see how it settled down. I used a very light diluted version of it, but you can see like the eyes and the eyelashes, it can come out with a pretty heavy mass tone where I used it there. So yeah, I normally wouldn't put like the black right around the mouth and the eyes, but once again, just testing out the capabilities of the paint. I really love how that purple haze settles down whenever there we go. So yeah, it's just pretty to watch the paint disperse and separate, and like you get kind of like really light bluish, greenish freckles in it. It's a pretty color. Definitely not essential, but it'll be fun to play with from time to time. And then for the outside, I kind of accidentally picked up both cerulean and viridian because they were right next to each other, so it's both, and both granulate in a really pretty way. So it just wanted to make sure I tried each of the colors at least once in this painting, and that's pretty much it. So otherwise, hope you're all doing well, taking care of yourselves, and I will talk to you in a future video. Bye.